right. All right, so recording has started. So let's get started. Well, hello, welcome, and thank you all so much for joining me live. And if you are watching the replay, thank you for taking time out of your busy life to watch this. So over the next 40 minutes, I'm going to teach you how to level up your exercise by harnessing the power of your menstrual cycle, as well as how to structure your exercise and your pre and post exercise nutrition so that it works with your menstrual cycle and body, not against it. So whether you are already exercising, already tracking your menstrual cycle, or maybe you're just kind of dipping your toes into these topics, this exercise and menstrual cycle webinar will give you the knowledge you need to make decisions about exercise and nutrition with confidence. So sounds pretty good, right? All right, so for those of you who don't know me, I am Jess. I'm the founder and CEO of Courageous Woman Wellness, which is an online coaching business for women. So I founded Courageous Woman Wellness to help women just like you and just like me learn how to live in a way that works long-term, no matter what chapter of life they are in. And I do this by helping women get more in tune with their bodies and hormones and learning how to build habits that best support their hormones and overall health in a realistic, sustainable way. And it's my mission to make sure that every female knows how her menstrual cycle works and learns how to work with her body, not against it, in every way possible. So I know tonight we'll be talking about exercise and nutrition surrounding that, but my coaching addresses much more than just the exercise portion of things. I've been training or coaching clients or patients in some way, shape, or form for the last 7 years. I've had various roles, including personal trainer, working with patients on a cardiac rehab unit in a hospital, and educating and counseling weight loss surgery patients about exercise. And while I have enjoyed all of those roles, this is by far my favorite one. I get to work with the people who I most want to help, AKA you, and educate and help them with the information that is most important to them and what I deem most important also. Basically, I love coaching women through Courageous Woman Wellness because I get to be the person for them that I wish I had had 10 to 20 years ago. I wish somebody would have told me all this information and compiled it in something easy to consume and easy to apply. And that's why I do what I do. And I love doing it because I'm really passionate about it. So tonight we'll be talking about how to sync up your workouts with your menstrual cycle, why every female should be doing that, and how to feel your body properly before and after your workouts. And I help all of my clients learn how to do this. We focus on tracking their menstrual cycle and adjusting workouts and other habits according to sync up with whatever phase of their cycle that they're in. So here's Stephanie. Stephanie joined Strong and Courageous, which is my one-on-one coaching program, after a recent diagnosis of PCOS. And she had an upcoming wedding and hopes of having children in the future. So she was looking for help with her habits and health. And by the end of Stephanie's time with me, she was getting her period regularly again, as well as feeling confident in her habits, such as exercise, nutrition, and stress management. So Stephanie says, before working with Jess, I didn't have a good relationship with working out and holding myself accountable. I now have a good weekly workout schedule that I learned to coordinate with my cycle. That concept was a big eye-opener and made my new habits easier to keep. And this is Maria. Maria joined Strong and Courageous because she needed help getting into a more consistent workout routine and getting her basic daily habits to align with her goals. Maria had previously worked out by doing classes at a local gym, but in spring of 2020, when everything shut down, since then she hadn't really gotten back into a consistent routine of working out yet. She was working at home in a mostly sedentary job, so she was sitting a lot throughout the day. And so that's when she reached out to me for help. By the end of Maria's time with me, she felt confident and consistent in her habit of working out at home, and she felt more in tune with her body knew how to adjust her workouts with her menstrual cycle, and had built sustainable habits around eating. No tracking calories or macros needed. So Maria said, working with Jess gave me knowledge about my hormones and menstrual cycle, as well as being mindful of how much I'm moving throughout the day. I feel more in tune with my body. So you get to hear from some of my one-on-one coaching clients there. All right, oops, sorry about that. Okay. Whoops, jumping ahead here. All right, so what is your menstrual cycle and why should you care about it when it comes to exercise? Your menstrual cycle is an amazing part of your very uniquely female physiology. We're obviously very physiologically different from males. And unfortunately, a lot of the recommendations around exercise, nutrition, even just general habits is geared towards males because a lot of the research is done on males. That is slowly changing, but still. It's important. Your menstrual cycle is important for so many aspects of your health, including, you can see on the right here, your brain health, mood, breast health, pelvic floor muscle health, healthy sleep, so it's important in so many different parts of your health. And while many of us were taught growing up that the only reason for the menstrual cycle is for reproduction, there's so much more to it than that. Yes, the main goal of your menstrual cycle is to reproduce, aka get pregnant, but that doesn't mean that's the only thing your menstrual cycle does for your body. There is no part of your body that is not affected by your menstrual cycle. And you can really use your menstrual cycle as a window into your overall health. If you know what your norms are for your menstrual cycle and your body and you track them, you'll very quickly be able to tell when something is out of whack with it. And when there are changes or differences in your menstrual cycle outside of your norms, you can quickly identify that something with your health or habits is off and might need some extra attention. All right, so menstrual cycle basics. Your menstrual cycle is more than just the days you bleed. So some of the women that I coach or just that I've talked to in general, if I ask how long their menstrual cycle is, they'll say, oh, like 5 days. But that's just one small piece of your menstrual cycle. That's just one phase of your menstrual cycle. So they're talking about their period. And that's where a lot of the confusion happens. I mean, you might not even know that your menstrual cycle is the entire thing, not just your period. So we are going to go over a brief overview of what the 4 phases of your menstrual cycle are. I will be talking about 2 hormones, estrogen and progesterone, because those are the 2 main hormones in your menstrual cycle. But please know that there's a lot more depth to it than what I'm going over right now. There's a lot more hormones involved as well. But just to simplify things, I just refer to it as estrogen and progesterone, and we're not diving deeper than that tonight. All right, so phase 1 of your menstrual cycle, menstruation, or your bleeding phase, or what many of us call it, your period. So this should last between 3 to 7 days. And during this menstruation phase, estrogen and progesterone are both at the lowest point of the entire cycle. And the bleeding happens because your endometrium, which is your uterine lining, is breaking down and shedding. So that's where the bleeding comes from. All right, then we go to phase 2, the follicular phase. And during this phase is when ovaries are preparing for ovulation. And estrogen starts to rise during this. So after your period, after your menstruation phase, then estrogen starts to rise to help prepare your ovaries for ovulation. All right, phase 3 is ovulation. This is the shortest but most important phase of the menstrual cycle. So during this phase, estrogen continues to rise and progesterone starts to rise. And in a joint effort by several hormones, the mature egg is released from the ovary into the fallopian tube. Once the egg is released, it is only viable for 24 hours. And in fact, the whole ovulation phase lasts just 24 to 48 hours. So brief tangent here. A lot of times we're told that you always ovulate on day 14 of your cycle. That is completely not true. Just like every woman's menstrual cycle is different and has different lengths, your day of ovulation is going to be different too. And actually for the same woman, it can vary from cycle to cycle too slightly. So that's where using those period tracking apps is great, but don't trust them to tell you when or if you ovulate. There's certain signs and symptoms you have to be tracking from your body to actually know if and when you are ovulating. All right, back to the subject at hand. Phase 4, the luteal phase. This is basically the second half of your cycle. So this is right after ovulation up until the next period. So phase 4 is the luteal phase, and this can be between 11 to 17 days long, but it's usually 12 to 14 days long. During this phase, progesterone is high. It continues to rise throughout the whole entire phase. And that is to help thicken the lining of the uterus. Remember, that's called your endometrium, in preparation for a pregnancy. Estrogen remains low in the first half of the luteal phase. In the second half, it does start to rise a bit, but progesterone is still kind of the dominant hormone in this phase. If the egg that was released during ovulation is not fertilized, meaning if there's no pregnancy, estrogen and progesterone drop, and then your body is signaled to shed the uterine lining, which then leads into your next period and the whole entire menstrual cycle starts over again. So that's a brief overview of the 4 different phases. If the different levels of hormones confuses you, don't worry. A quick and easy way to remember it is this. Estrogen dominates in the first half of the cycle. So estrogen dominates menstruation to ovulation. Then progesterone dominates during the luteal phase, or the second half of your cycle. Now, again, tracking your menstrual cycle is the first step to really getting to know your body and your individual menstrual cycle better. If you don't know your menstrual cycle and track it, it's nearly impossible to adjust your exercise and other habits to sync up with it. So we're not going to cover how to track your menstrual cycle tonight, but this is something I go over in the Healthy Cycle Roadmap, which is my new group program that focuses on menstrual cycle and adjusting your adjusting your habits around that. All right, so now that we've gone over the basics of the menstrual cycle, how does it relate to exercise? And really, why should you care about it, right? So as your hormones, again, mainly estrogen and progesterone, as they fluctuate throughout your menstrual cycle, these hormones have effects on how your body responds to exercise. For example, progesterone, which is the main hormone in the luteal phase, remember that's the second half of your cycle, progesterone is catabolic, meaning that it increases muscle breakdown. Now, opposite of this, estrogen is anabolic, which means that it helps with building muscle and maintaining muscle. So knowing that, you don't want to push your exercise too hard in the luteal phase of your cycle, unless you actually want to lose muscle instead of gain it, feel super sore after your workouts, and not see any strength gains from your workouts. So your hormones also have a huge impact on how well you can handle heat, how much you sweat, how much sodium you lose when you sweat, how you metabolize carbs, and your immune system. And that's just to name a few things. So knowing this, you can adjust your exercise so you don't feel like you're on the struggle bus during your workouts, depending on where you are in your menstrual cycle. So here's something fun for some of the science nerds out there. I know I really like the research. So one study found that women who adjusted their strength training with their menstrual cycles had greater strength gains, felt less pain, and recovered faster. Then another study found that women who adjusted their strength training with their menstrual cycles gained twice as much strength as women who didn't adjust their training with their menstrual cycles. So I just think that's really cool research showing, and again, that's female specific research, which is starting to thankfully happen more and more. But that's for the science nerds out there. So that kind of gives you an overview of how and why you should care about your hormones when it comes to exercise. And really plainly put, your mood and how you feel will change throughout your menstrual cycle too. So planning your workouts and adjusting them according to whether you are approaching your period or whether you're approaching ovulation, it'll help you maintain a long-term habit of exercise without burning out mentally or physically. All right, now to the meat of the stuff you guys want, right? All right, so, oops, sorry about that. All right, so we are going to talk about how to adjust exercise throughout the phases of your menstrual cycle. So remember, in phase 1, that's your menstruation phase or your period, both estrogen and progesterone are low. During this time, your body is primed to build muscle during the menstruation and the follicular phases. And I'm lumping phases 1 through 3 together. So remember, phase 1 is menstruation / period week. Phase 2 is the follicular phase. So that's when your body is prepping for ovulation. Phase 3 is ovulation. That's when the egg is released. So I'm lumping those all together just because the hormones, now again, when we're simplifying and talking about estrogen and progesterone, phases 1 through 3 is dominated by estrogen. So that's why I'm lumping them together. So again, during this time, your body's primed to build muscle. And so this is the time of your cycle you want to push it a bit more. So go ahead and lift heavier weights, do higher intensity cardio. You know, you get the idea. You should be feeling your best during this part of your cycle. And your body will respond best to higher intensity exercise right now too during this part of your cycle. Your body is also better able to utilize carbs as a fuel source during these phases. So also, if you exercise in the heat, you'll likely find that you're better able to handle it during these phases. Your resting heart rate is also lower during these phases. And as you get closer, but word of caution, as you get closer to ovulation, your joint laxity may also increase just due to the shift of hormones, which means your risk of injury is slightly higher, like right around ovulation. So pay extra attention to making sure you warm up properly and are very careful with your exercise technique. I mean, you should be paying attention to warm-ups and technique all the time, but around ovulation, just give it a little extra thought since your joint laxity is a little bit more. So here's an example of how to adjust exercise around your menstrual cycle, phases 1 through 3. So cardio, go for moderate to higher intensity cardio. So think like HIIT, maybe like boot camp type sprints, just higher intensity. Your body can handle a bit more. Strength training, go for heavier weights, lower reps. So something like 4 sets of 8 reps at a heavier weight. And I know there, you know, different people do different exercise and different sports. So again, this is a simplification, but also something to remember is that everybody's light, moderate, and high intensity or heavy weights is going to be different. Your heavy is going to be different than somebody else's heavy. So heavy is relative, you know, intensity levels are relative. So it's just about knowing what's heavy for you and what your body can handle, and then adjusting your exercise from there. Something to note though too, if the symptoms during the first, 1 to 3 days of your period negatively affect you, exercise like light cardio or yoga or stretching are some great options. After these symptoms subside around days 3 to 4, then feel free to start pushing it. However, if you are having symptoms worse than just mild discomfort, that's also a sign that you need to start paying attention to your habits and your cycle, or consult your doctor about this. You shouldn't be laying on the couch just due to your cramps being so terribly bad. You should not be having to miss work or school or activities because your period is bugging you so much. All right, so let's move on to phase 4. So remember, this is the luteal phase, basically the second half of your cycle. This is the time when progesterone is highest, and progesterone has many effects on your exercise and your body's response to it. Your core temperature is higher during this phase, which if you are tracking your cycle by taking your basal body temperature, you'll notice that. And your body is actually less able to handle heat. So you'll have lower heat tolerance. your blood volume is lower and you actually lose more sodium in your sweat during this phase. So that's gonna, that combined with your higher core temperature is going to mean that you have lower heat tolerance. Sorry about that. So make sure that you pre-hydrate, hydrate, and rehydrate, especially during this phase. I mean, again, that's something to pay attention to all the time, but especially during this phase, make sure that you're doing that. Also, because of higher levels of progesterone during the luteal phase, it is harder for your body to make and also maintain muscle. Remember how I said progesterone is catabolic, meaning muscle breakdown. So this means that if you're pushing it too hard with workouts during the luteal phase, your body may actually be more likely to break down muscle, which I'm sure goes in the opposite direction of your goals, especially if you are not pairing it with proper nutrition. Some other changes during this phase, your blood volume is decreased, which means that your blood is thicker and less blood is pumped out with each heartbeat. So this can make your exercise feel more difficult. So you may notice some PMS symptoms, especially the week leading up to your period. But like I was just saying before, if it's like debilitating and really, really bugs you, make sure that you consult with a doctor or you look at your habits. Work with somebody who can help you make adjustments so that those symptoms aren't completely disrupting your life. All right, so here's some examples of how you can exercise during the luteal phase. With cardio, go for lower intensity, endurance cardio. So don't not HIIT style. Think easy running or walking or just some easier cardio, not super duper intense. Maybe not doing your tempo runs if you're training for anything. For strength, lower to medium weights with higher reps. Maybe some increased rest time between sets. So something like 3 sets of 12 to 15 reps at a lighter to medium weight. This phase, especially the second part of this phase, so the week before your period, is an ideal time for a deload week. So what a deload week is it's excuse me, it is a time for you to back off on intensity and load to give your body and really your mind too mentally time to kind of recover and catch up so that you don't burn out. I line up all of my clients' deload weeks, at least I try as best as I can with cycle tracking. I line it up with the week leading up to their periods because everybody should be having deload weeks anyways. So if we're adjusting it around our menstrual cycle, let's do it in the week that it's going to work best with our menstrual cycle, right? All right, now a question I've gotten from several people just that I've talked to, several women I've talked to. What if I'm on hormonal birth control? So that is a great question. Now, depending on the type of hormonal birth control you are on, it may or may not be preventing ovulation as its method of pregnancy prevention. But no matter which type you are on, it is affecting the natural fluctuations of your hormones somehow. So knowing this, you may not notice the same type of symptoms or the same benefits from adjusting habits as somebody who is not on any type of hormonal birth control. However, I would still encourage you to track your symptoms and adjust your habits just as if you were having a normal menstrual cycle. This can be a great way to become aware of your habits and to adjust your habits for if in the future you aren't on birth control, but also, like I said, just knowing how to naturally support your hormones is so important. So there's, again, for some science nerds here, some interesting research. So there is emerging research that hormonal birth control pills impair your ability to gain muscle as well as recover from exercise compared to women who are not taking hormonal birth control pills. And then another study found that women taking hormonal birth control with higher amounts of synthetic estrogen, because remember, all hormonal birth control, it's not real natural hormones, it's synthetic, basically lab hormones, which some doctors will tell you they act the exact same on your body as natural hormones, but anything synthetic and lab made cannot act 100% like what your body makes. So again, so synthetic estrogens. So the study found that women taking birth control with higher amounts of this synthetic estrogen had more difficulty gaining muscle strength, which is very interesting because if you remember back, estrogen is anabolic, meaning muscle building. So you would think more estrogen in my birth control, better muscle gains. But this is a great example of where the synthetic hormones are not acting on your body the same way that the hormones that your body naturally reproduces. So I am just sharing this so that you can be well informed. If you're on birth control and you choose to be in birth control, that's totally fine. But make sure you know what type you're on. Make sure you know how it's affecting your body. You know, what is the method of pregnancy prevention that it uses? What hormones, what synthetic hormones are in it? What are the risks? What are the common side effects? So make sure you know those things because a lot of women don't, and a lot of doctors don't go over all of that with women. So just make sure that you are very well informed if you are in fact on hormonal birth control, just because a lot of times we aren't getting that information, unfortunately. All right, so now let's talk about nutrition. So we're not going to dive deep into nutrition tonight, but in relation to exercise, we do need to discuss something very important with it. You need to make sure you are taking in enough food before and during exercise to help your body recover and really not wreak havoc on your hormones. So during the luteal phase, your body has a more difficult time utilizing carbs for energy, and it tends to lean more towards fat as a fuel. So this means that increasing carbs during this part of your cycle can be helpful, especially if you're doing endurance type of exercise, such as long distance running. You also want to make sure you pay extra attention to having protein after your workouts. You should be paying attention to this all the time, but especially in the luteal phase. Your metabolism also increases in the days leading up to your period. So think like the week leading up, which combined with your body's lowered ability to use carbs for exercise helps explain why you might have certain cravings in the week leading up to your period. So, you know, it's just super important for women to eat enough food before and after they exercise because our bodies are vastly, obviously different from men. Because of this, we need to take care of ourselves differently than men do. So recommendations do vary depending on your weight and the intensity and duration of your exercise. But for example, if you were going to be doing a 30 to 45 minute medium intensity workout with some strength and cardio in it, so maybe like a boot camp class, these are some general guidelines you can follow. So as you can see, eat a light meal or snack 30 to 45 minutes beforehand, especially if it's been more than 2 hours since you've eaten. If you exercise first thing in the morning, you need to be eating beforehand. I know there's some of you who are watching or listening that exercise in the morning and don't eat beforehand. And I'm just going to say, just because you can do it, just because you can make it through your workout, doesn't mean you should. You are going to cause yourself hormonal issues, and it's not helping you with those goals, those, you know, exercise goals that you're trying to reach if you're not feeling yourself properly beforehand. So have some carbs and protein beforehand. Doesn't have to be anything big. Peanut butter with some nut, or banana with some nut butter or something. And then afterwards, you want to make sure you eat 30 to 45 minutes after exercise. So it's not a 2-hour window. Again, things are different for men and women. 30 to 45 minutes after exercise. Prioritize protein and carbs during this time. So aim for at least 25 to 30 grams of protein paired with plenty of carbs. Again, that's going to be different, you know, depending on your age, your exercise intensity, your weight, all of that. Just don't skimp on the food before and after exercise in an attempt to cut calories, and do not skimp on carbs in an attempt to lose weight. So why? If you go into an exercise session underfueled, you're putting your body under added and unnecessary stress. And this is just going to cause your body to pump up more cortisol, which is your stress hormone. And high cortisol can cause fat storage, as well as cause a cascade of hormonal and health issues. Also, if you do not refuel your body after exercise, this actually encourages your body to break down muscle. Like I was saying, goes against your goals, right? So it is super important to be fueling your body properly for your exercise. Even if it's not something super duper intense, you need to make sure that you're taking time and paying attention to fueling your body before and after exercise. So using this knowledge of their body and adjusting habits to work with their menstrual cycles, these two women were able to accomplish their goals. Annie learned how to adjust her workouts with her menstrual cycle while she was working on building a consistent habit of exercise again. She said, I feel more in tune with my body. She's learned how to pay attention to her cycle and when to push her workouts and when to take it easy. And Stephanie's also finding the importance of tracking her menstrual cycle, noticing trends, and really honoring what her body needs at that point in her cycle. She notices shifts to her hormones as throughout her cycle, and it kind of affects her in different ways, physically, mentally, emotionally. But she said consistent exercise and listening to her body's needs has really helped her navigate those changes. As you can see from what we've been talking about tonight, your menstrual cycle impacts so many parts of your health, and your hormones are definitely not the same from week to week. Women's bodies are cyclical, and knowing how to adjust your habits to be cyclical also will help you work with your body instead of against it. Like so many of those diets and workout programs out there, so many of them are, again, geared and researched for men, for males. And women were so different. So what might be good for men might not be good for women and our hormones. But maybe even thinking about how in the world to learn how to support your menstrual cycle and your hormones is overwhelming. Maybe you're just like, I don't know where to start. Where do I find the information? How am I going to have time to research all this stuff? What would I actually do? How do I know what's useful and how do I know what's gimmicky? So this is exactly why I created the Healthy Cycle Roadmap, to help all women know how their bodies work, to be in tune with their bodies, to be their own health advocates. Again, because you should be the master of your body. You should be the expert on your body. You should know what's normal for your body and what's not. And then also how to support their menstrual cycle, hormones, and overall health with realistic and sustainable habits. So the Healthy Cycle Roadmap, I made it so that it cuts through all the BS. It teaches you exactly what you need to know to get started and to feel your absolute best. Over the course of 3 months, you will learn how to adjust your habits with small little steps. It's nothing crazy or extreme, just little by little, so that you feel confident in continuing these habits for years down the road. It's not just something that will help you just the 3 months of the program. It will help you for your entire life. This is the Healthy Cycle Roadmap. It's another great way to keep yourself accountable and bounce ideas off of other women. It's a group program, so you get the coach and community support, which is really, really great. The Healthy Cycle Roadmap, this is what's all included. So there's 8 modules. They're video modules. It's going to be similar to this, me talking with some slides. There's habit objectives. You can call it homework, assignments, whatever you want to call it, with each module. Journal prompts, printable info resources, bi-monthly virtual group support calls. So group support calls via Zoom, where you can get that one-on-one time with your coach, with me. Access to a private online virtual group. So that's via Slack. Slack is like an online chat room, basically a private chat room, to bounce ideas and get support and share with your coach and the other members of the group. You get weekly workouts provided in an app with guidance on how to adjust these workouts through your menstrual cycles. And then a bonus too included is my 8-week core health program called Connect with Your Core. That's a value of $149 right there. And that's a bonus just for enrolling in the Healthy Cycle Roadmap. So that's what's all included. And tonight, for those who are attending this live or watching the replay, I'm opening the Healthy Cycle Roadmap enrollment up for early access to you. So the public won't have access to register for until next week. So plus you get an early access discount of $50 off the program price. And you get a bonus call, a bonus one-on-one call with me to be used at any time throughout the 3 months of the program. So this bonus call is a great way to get some specialized one-on-one support that normally isn't included in group programs. Group programs don't usually get those one-on-one calls. So the thing is, this bonus and discount is only available for the next 72 hours. So until midnight on Sunday, May 15th. After that, enrollment will be at regular price. And since this is the introductory price, it'll never be this low again too. I'm hoping I don't get cut off on Zoom. I have 1 minute left, Zoom is telling me, because I don't have a paid plan. So you will be getting an email after this, right after the webinar, with the link to the discount and a reminder of your freebie. So remember, everybody who attends tonight gets a freebie, which is 1 month of workouts with guidance on how to adjust with your menstrual cycle. All right, so I want to thank everybody. I'll probably get cut off here in about 10 seconds. Look at that email, reach out to me on social media if you have questions. I'm sorry we don't have time for Q&A, but again, that's what I get for the free plan with Zoom. All right, everybody, have a good night. Thank you.